She didn't come home late. She came home on purpose. There's a difference. Late is something that just happens. On purpose is a signal. "I told you I was going," she said, dropping her heels by the door like a full stop at the end of a sentence. I didn't hide anything. She said it before I could ask, which meant the talk had already been practiced in her head, which meant the night was not about fun. It was about a reaction. Her ex was throwing a party. She had brought it up casually 2 days before. "I might go," she said, watching my face instead of finishing what she meant. I told her it was her choice. I didn't ask questions. I didn't show discomfort because I had learned something about her over the last 8 months. She doesn't respond to limits. She responds to resistance. Resistance makes her feel important. Indifference makes her uneasy. So when she said she might go, I just nodded. And that was when something shifted because I saw a small flash of disappointment, like I had refused to play the role she expected. On the day of the party, she took longer than usual to get ready. Clothes changed, makeup fixed again and again, pictures taken and deleted. Every move a little louder than needed. Not to inform me, but to pull a reaction out of me. I said nothing, not in a cold way, not ignoring her, just neutral. Neutral is often mistaken for distance, but sometimes it is just watching carefully. She left around 9. "Wait. Don't wait up," she said. I nodded again, and she paused for a second, as if that line needed something back. She got nothing. Then she walked out. The apartment felt different after she left, not empty, just quiet and clear. I didn't check her social media. I didn't text her. I didn't ask anything because in that moment, curiosity would not give me truth. It would turn into a kind of negotiation, and I wasn't negotiating. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. A mutual friend had posted a group picture. She was there, standing closer to her ex than necessary, smiling more than usual. The caption was casual, but the setup wasn't. I closed the app because seeing something is not the same as understanding it. Judging in the middle of emotion is never reliable. At 2:30, I heard the key turn in the lock. Not rushed, not quiet, just careful and controlled. She walked in, looked around the room, and found me on the couch, awake, reading. She paused. Not because I was there, but because I was calm. "You're still up," she said. "I couldn't sleep," I replied. That was true, but not the full truth. She waited for a question, for a reaction, for anything that would make the night make sense. Nothing came. "I had fun," she added. I nodded. "I'm glad." The words felt heavier than silence because they removed all conflict, and conflict was what she had been investing in. She went into the kitchen, poured herself some water, drank slowly, still waiting, still watching, still looking for tension. "Don't you want to know anything?" she finally asked. The question showed more than any answer could. Want, not need, not deserve. Want. "I trust you to make your own choices," I said. She put the glass down harder than needed. "That's not what this is about." "I agree," I said. "It's about something. But I don't think it's about your ex." The air in the room shifted. Not in a big way, but enough, because naming the wrong thing can shake everything. She crossed her arms. "What do you think it's about?" I closed the book slowly. Timing matters in talks like this. "It's about whether I react," I said. Her face changed. Not anger, recognition, and then something else. Uncertainty. Because once a pattern is named, it starts losing its power. "That's ridiculous," she said, but her voice was softer now. Less sure. "You went to his party," I continued. "You knew I wouldn't like it." She opened her mouth to argue, then stopped, because denying it would mean going into details. "And you waited to see if I would push back?" I added. She said nothing. Silence can confirm more than words ever do. This is where most people raise their voice, make demands, try to take control. But reacting like that only feeds the pattern, and I had no interest in feeding it. So I did something she didn't expect. I stood up. "I'm going to bed," I said. She looked at me, confused. That wasn't how this was supposed to go. "Wait," she said quickly, faster than she meant to. I stopped. "What?" I asked. Now she had to fill the silence. And silence is where truth often shows up. "You don't care," she said. Not accusing, asking. There was no jealousy in her voice, no anger, just fear. "Care about what?" I asked. "About me," she said. And suddenly the whole night made sense in a different way. The party wasn't about her ex, it was about validation. About checking if distance creates a reaction. About measuring importance by causing disruption. "Do you need me to be upset to feel valued?" I asked quietly. The question hit harder than any blame because it didn't attack. It revealed. She looked away first. "That's not fair," she said. "People often say that when the truth feels uncomfortable." "I didn't say it was," I replied. "I asked a question." She sat down slowly. The act was over. What was left was something more real. "I just wanted to see," she admitted. "See what?" I asked. "How much I matter," she said. And for the first time that night, there was no plan in her voice, just doubt. That was the turning point. Not the party, not the photo, but that moment. Because now we were no longer talking about actions, but about reasons. And reasons need a different kind of response. "I don't measure people by their reactions," I said. "I measure them by how consistent they are." She nodded slowly. But understanding something and agreeing with it are not the same thing. The next few days were quieter. Not distant, just more thoughtful. She was more present, more aware, not out of guilt, but because something had adjusted inside her. Patterns don't just disappear. They change shape. About a week later, she mentioned her ex again. Casually this time, not trying to provoke anything. The difference was small but important. "I ran into him," she said. I listened without reacting, without pulling away, just listening. Because not reacting doesn't mean not being involved, and that difference changes everything. But the real result came later, not during a talk, but in a choice. She stopped testing. Not fully, not forever, but clearly. Because tests need uncertainty, and uncertainty gets smaller when patterns are understood. Would things have been different if I reacted that night? Probably. There would have been a fight, some short comfort, quick clarity, and then the same cycle again later. Because reactions keep the system alive. But by not reacting, I pushed the conversation deeper. From action to need, from provocation to insecurity. That doesn't solve everything. It shifts things. And shifts are what relationships are built on. Not winning, not control, not silence. Alignment. And alignment means seeing what is really being asked, not just what is being done. This situation shows how actions often hide deeper feelings. Her choice to go to the party was not just about socializing. It was a way to test, to measure her value through my reaction. My restraint broke the expected pattern. Instead of continuing the cycle of push and response, it moved the focus toward what was underneath. This didn't remove conflict. It changed its shape. Her honesty showed insecurity, not harm. And that matters because insecurity needs understanding, not control. At the same time, staying calm has its own risks. Without clear words, it can look like you don't care. The balance is in mixing emotional control with clear communication. Neither silence alone nor strong reaction alone creates stability. Only awareness does.